You're listening to the Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast, brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technological advanced silhouette decoys on the market, and Vortex Canada, the force of optics.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430. This is episode 66. I had to write it down to make sure that 66. Yeah, we just when we hit 666, we're going to play the Iron Maiden song as the intro and get her going that way. Yeah, Philly. We have an awesome show for you tonight, and it's been a long time. Like, we've been trying to get a taxidermy person to come on this show for a long time, and thanks to Philly pulling some strings and reaching out into his tickle trunk of contacts, he was able to get a hold of Advanced Taxidermy, and we are very, very lucky tonight to have one of the owners of Advanced Taxidermy, James MacGregor, come on the show with us tonight, and he's going to talk all about birds and everything that you need to know with regards to taxidermy and some things to do and things not to do. We'll introduce the boys. Mark's just outside the nation's capital. Phil, only two more weeks left in Oshawa.
This will be the final episode from the Schwa.
From the Schwa, the last episode from the Schwa for Philly. Dave's up in Kincardine, finally. No tornadoes landing around Dave, so he's able to come on the show. And we've got James coming to us all the way from Caledon, Ontario, with Advanced Taxidermy. So, James, thanks for coming on, buddy. I really just got to get this little bit out, and then we're going to get into the taxidermy. So, thank you. No problem. Thank you to everybody that has listened to Dave over the last 3 or 4 shows when he's saying you need to be onto this fan page of Real Geese, because we've got Brian McRae, Steve Clark, and Max Burley, all of them just for being subscribers to this show for our YouTube and podcast channels. Because they were fans of that page, they're getting a free dozen of decoys coming from all the way from Real Geese out of the States. So again, an amazing thank you to Craig Mintz and his team at Real Geese in Ohio for the continued support that they're doing for us, and to those 3 gentlemen that won some free decoys. It's just a gift that keeps on giving. So thank you so much. Real Geese. Mark just hold up some Real Geese. Dave's got it. So we are big fans. Now on to James. Buddy, I'm going to tell you, I did not realize, and it's almost embarrassing, how big a deal you guys are, and I had no idea about it.
Well, it just tells us we still have to always market. You know, there's always, getting your name out there, and appreciate you guys bringing me on tonight here, and it's going to be fun.
It's going to be a blast, and and I'm not, I know you're not comfortable, James, in doing this, but I'll do it for you. Like, these guys are the real deal, like the best from what I've been gathering so far, the best in North America. Very soon we'll have the biggest taxidermy shop in Canada doing international order. Actually, they're busier with international orders than they are with Canadian orders. So these guys are the real deal. So I'm sure there's a ton of education coming for everybody. And just like Dave alluded to before, Dave, start us off with that first question that you've been wondering, buddy. And I'm sure a lot of people that listen to the show, they're all wondering the very same thing.
Okay. My internet's going crazy right now because we're having some power problems here. So I'll get this out quick if I can. I just shot a bird and it's got a good story, or there's some reason that I want it to be mounted. What do I do from the moment I've got it in my hand and I decide I might want this to be amount from that point until I get it to you? How do I handle it? Just go ahead. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, simply enough, there's different ways of attacking this whole situation, and depending on the situation, will play out what really needs to be done. Now, like was mentioned there, we're international business. I've had birds shipped to me from Mexico, from Africa. We're talking like, first off, more local. A hunter harvests some ducks, whether it be ducks or geese or whatever it may be. First and foremost, as I mentioned there before, what makes a trophy is not just the bird. It's the memory that you're immortalizing. With that said, the later the season, the better the bird, plumage wise, which makes a nicer mount. And a lot of times people ask me, how do I know which bird to mount? Well, you got those 4 or 5 birds laying there, and one really stands out shining, like, wow, look how beautiful this is. That's the bird. Now, if it's a son's first bird, regardless of what it looks like, that's worthy of a mount too. Yes. It just takes a lot more work to make a bad bird look good than a good bird, because the bird's just not there. Now, a lot of times it's common sense, and you don't want to do stuff to it that you shouldn't be doing. I tell clients all the time, you want to keep it as dry as possible and as clean as possible and free of blood. Well, it's a little hard if you're shooting it and hunting over water. But with that said, try dry it up, try to remove some of the blood. You don't have to go into a lot of work. You don't have to wash it, or, keep it, don't bend it in a position that normally doesn't go. Try to keep all the feathers nice and flat. Sometimes you can tuck the head under a wing. Just lay it in a bag and get it frozen as soon as you can. Don't be gutting it. Don't be doing any stuff. Now, if you're planning on keeping a freezer for a long time before you get it to the taxidermist, and my recommendation is you want to get it to the taxidermist the very first chance you can. And then it's out of your hands and in the hands of the person that can take care of it from there. But if you're planning on, storing birds for a very long time, you want to make sure that they're wrapped properly. There's been times where I've said, you can use an old pair of nylons from the girlfriend or the wife, just slide it over the bird and it conforms to the bird. That helps protect feathers. But when stuff's going to be in the freezer for a long time, personally, I'll get a syringe with some water, inject the feet with some water, wrap the bill with a wet paper towel, and that just helps it from freezer burning, because those are 2 areas that freezer burn. But just open or 1 layer of plastic, the bird itself can freezer burn. And from a taxidermist point of view, when you're working on a bird that's freezer burnt and you skin it, you can see the burn on the inside, not the feather side. And when you mount that bird, and it is doable, and we have techniques to try and fix a freezer burn, but it almost wants to dry in the drying stage back to the, as I call it, bed head, where the feathers are sort of pressed down from it being in the freezer and not wanting to fluff up like a nice live bird. So yeah, first and foremost, you want to try and get to your taxidermist as soon as possible. Even call a taxidermist before you're going out hunting and saying, hey, I'm hoping to get a bird mounted by you. What do you recommend? How should I bring it in? But yeah, just common sense. Try to keep it dry. Try to keep it free of blood. If there's any excess of blood, especially if it's like a snow goose or something, try with a paper towel, damp dry that blood off of it to try and get the majority of blood away from the feathers. Now, we're going to be cleaning it. Obviously, the techniques that we use are the most modern and proper techniques in the mounting of the birds. It goes through various washes and degreases and tanning of the skin. So there's a lot of procedures to correct that problem. Even on some of the birds that you see staining, iron stain from the water, almost like a level line, we can remove that as well if the client wants it removed. Some people say, hey, no, that's the way the bird was, let's leave it. But a little common sense, just again, if you can bring it right to the taxidermist from your hunt, perfect. If you're going to put it in the freezer, don't have it in that freezer 1 day longer than it needs to be. And just, don't bend the bird into a position it wouldn't be. And put a couple layers of plastic, not just one garbage bag, or shopping bag. Maybe put 4 or 5, get it frozen good. And like I said, get it to the taxidermist as soon as you can.
And you mentioned don't gut it.
Yeah.
What about if I want to eat the breast meat off of it?
Well, I kind of use the rule, your mount or your meal.
Yeah.
You're only
And
getting
you
one
know
or the
what?
other.
One of my best friends is a taxidermist, and I didn't understand, like, when I thought I did a really good job cutting that meat out. And when that guy came up here and I gave him the knife and he did a bird, I was looking at it like I didn't realize that the bone was that white on a bird. Like, it was just amazing how close and how surgical you guys get with those knives. So now I understand why you don't breast it on your own.
Yeah, normally if a bird's, I've seen that over 37 years of business. I've seen fish come in. One of the funniest, I had a client actually bring in a fish, largemouth bass that was filleted with the pieces of skin still attached to the tail. Like they cut and filleted it and brought that in saying, "Can you still mount this?" That's a hard no.
Yeah.
You know, and the same with the birds. I've seen turkeys come in where clients wanted to breast them out. See, the turkey is probably the one bird that I will tell a client, you know, hey, if you bring it in, run up to the corner and grab a coffee. I'll knock the breasts out for you and hand them right back to you. But if it's something like a teal or a grouse,
Yeah.
you know, I just, you know, it's your mount or your meal.
Yeah, you're not
Mhm.
missing much.
No.
Yeah.
And what's the typical turnaround time? Because I thought, like, well, I watched that show Hunt the 41,
Mm.
and it looked like the guy was just sitting on a picnic table and did a bird from, like, just took it off the water and mounted it within an hour, it seemed like. But that's obviously unrealistic and it's more movie magic. But what's a typical
Well,
turnaround?
I know some taxidermists that would do it in an hour, yeah, but you know what you're getting. Proper techniques takes time. Drying of the bird takes time. You have to wait for it to dry before you can, you know, finish and do habitats and stuff like that. Right now we're at 8 months, you know, but every taxidermist you talk to or ask that question is going to give you a different answer. My word of advice is just stay away from the studios that say 3 weeks or 3 years. There's something wrong there. You know,
Is this
you
kind of one of
want
those?
to.
Sorry, is this one of those triangle things where it's like you can either
I'm
have
just
it
gonna say
cheap, fast, or quality? Right? You can have it cheap and
yeah,
fast, but it won't be good quality.
yeah. Well, yeah. They say if you know a tax versus it takes a long time, it's because they're busy and they're busy for a reason.
Yeah.
But in the same respect, and I've said this somewhat facetiously to some clients, that at the end of the day, I'm more 37 years again that my business partner and I have been doing this, and our crew. I would pay to do this job as opposed to being paid to do it. Well, I won't tell my business partner that, but 12, 14, 16 hours a day. But at the very end of the day, you want the bird and I want your money. So the common goal is get her done. But we'll never ever sacrifice quality for time. You know, we're going to make sure it's right. We're going to go right into all those feather tracking and making it the right size and putting the detail and making it exactly the way you want. And I'm proud to say, because of our quality, that's why people come to us. It's, you know, we've put some of the biggest names in the outdoor world as clients, and we take pride in that.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on that. So just in case people that are listening to this and wondering if we're really trying to blow smoke up their ass when we're talking about how good these guys are, I guarantee you've seen some of their work, because if you've been into a Cabela's, a Bass Pro, you've been looking at the work that these guys have done. So Mr. Morris and Mr. Shockey and those guys, you know, when those fellas are trusting their game to advance, then you know it's in good hands. You did mention a little bit about the bass that you had worked with, James, and I really want to bring that in. And even though this is a waterfowl podcast, I do want to give you the opportunity to talk about just how revolutionary you guys are when it comes to those fish molds and stuff, because as we know, we've got a ton of listeners that are hunters and fisher persons, right? Is that a word, fisher persons? Did I just pull a Trudeau here and you make up a new word or something?
Pretty woke.
Anyway.
Damien, you're fired.
Yeah.
But yeah, 37 for 37 years that we've been doing this. So we do all forms of taxidermy: big game, small game, life size birds, mammals, reptiles, fish. And as far as fish, We no longer do conventional skin mounts because Shawn and I are the pioneers of the replica fish taxidermy or technology here in Canada. And I should mention, the only thing we don't do are the P's, people and pets. If it had a name, I'm not touching it. But that one went right over.
No, that's a good that's a good baseline to start from, right? Like that I agree with you on that, because I've seen some of those Facebook groups where people put on those friggin' getting fluffy mounted and stuff like that, and it just I don't know, it creeps me out a little bit. So
it took me a minute to laugh at that, but it's because I had to think.
We've had a couple of those phone calls.
The only reason that you would say you won't do a person mount is because someone probably asked you. Like, what in the
Yeah.
What would it cost for grandma? Right. But yeah, long and short, the
in the rocking chair.
Long and short of the fish, we pioneered the fish replica technology. Fish taxidermy, you can't tan a fish skin like you can tan an animal skin or a bird skin. So the preservation is not there. It's just like a dry skin, and over seasonal changes and time, all skin mounts deteriorate. And that's, even go further, the skin mounts, what they are and only is an excessively dried, shrunken skin, and only the skin of the fish stretched over a styrofoam armature carved by the taxidermist to what he or she thinks that fish looks like. Once that raisins now, or that grape's now a raisin, they paint that or put epoxies on it, which with seasonal changes, oil surface, they paint cracks built. You've seen it on these old lodges, these decrepit skin mount fish. They look nothing like a live fish. And when we cast a fish, man, we're copying that fish anatomically perfect and full and fleshy. Everything that's on that fish, like not just the scales, but growth rings in the scales, wrinkles in the base of the fins, it's captured in our molds. So it's the most realistic. It's an oxymoron, but their fake fish is the most realistic presentation of fish taxidermy that's even possible. And I'm proud to say that it's the mainstream for fish taxidermy these days. It's very, very rare that people say, hey, I caught this fish, I want to get it stuffed, is the old cliche word, right? Mounted. Now everyone's saying, hey, I caught this fish. And that's a great thing about replicas. If you catch the fish and you want to let it go, you take a length and girth measurement picture and you can do so. And we can do an identical duplicate of that fish. Or if you want to keep it and eat it, you can do so and still get your replica. And very rare, sometimes you gill hook a fish. We just had one come in the other day. A client's getting a replica done, but he actually physically brought the coho in from Lake Ontario. We're going to be taking a mold off of it. And that's how we've got our molds, as they've been actually fish that we've casted through those years. We're over 6,000 molds strong now easily. Wow. And yeah, it's super realistic. With the molds we do, inner mouth detail, everything's in there, the vomer, the tongue, the gill rakers, all the way down the esophagus. And we not only shape match to size and to shape, but we're matching colors, right? Individual painted scales in our work, scale by scale by scale by scale with iridescent shimmers. So it's a highly detailed thing. And then, basically with just the evolution of taxidermy, in us doing these castings of fish, we started molding noses of whitetail, internostril details, and bears, internostril details, casting inner cartilages, casting beaks for ducks and raptors, as well as feet. And it's just made the end product of the taxidermy clients that much more realistic.
It's funny, like on top of like obviously being to like the fishing show, the hunting show, the sportsman show, and seeing your guys' work on display, because you guys always have a booth going. My cousin actually has 2 fish done by you guys, and I was actually
awesome.
I was actually the net man for one of them, this big monster pike that he caught up in Northern Ontario. And yeah, like your guys' work, like for those that have never seen it, the detail that goes into the painting of these fish scales is just, it's next level. Like you legit have to lay your eyes on the work that these guys do to see the detail and the craftsmanship that goes into like the painting of the individual scales, and like just the dots on a rainbow and like all this jazz, the vermiculations on a brook trout. Like it is phenomenal, and there's a reason why Advanced is the world leader in taxidermy.
Well, business partner and I, we're both hunters, we're both fishermen, and we've been there. You know, we know what it takes physically, emotionally, and monetarily to catch these fish, to harvest these birds, you know, these deer, that I and he, we refuse to use a cheap glass eye in the mouth, because that's not what it's about. It's immortalizing these joyous memories, times out with your father or grandfather or grandson or son that we're capturing. And it's not a novelty to us. We do treat it as three-dimensional wildlife art. So we're going to take the time to preen those feathers, you know, so that they're in the right place. You know, shingle all those primaries and secondaries, paint all those scales, or, you know, groom that bear the way it should be, or, you know, different little fine details. And, you know, we take pride in that, and who, you know, the work we do and who we do the work for.
Mark, I know you're looking to get in there.
Yeah. So it's just for shits and giggles. If some dude just said, "Hey, can you do me up a 57-inch muskie? Can you just pop out a 57-inch muskie for someone?"
Well, yeah, the more information given to us, the more accurate we can be to the original.
But I mean,
we get a lot of people calling up saying, go ahead.
I mean, like, hypothetically, if some guy, let's say it was a restaurant, say, "Hey, we want a 57-inch muskie for the wall. You do one for us?" That kind of thing.
Yeah. Sure. You know, if a client calls up and said, you know, I caught a 30-inch largemouth bass, not a problem. I'm going to charge you for a 30-inch largemouth bass. You know, even if you said you caught that 20-pound fish in Lake Ontario or Simcoe, not a problem. We'll do that. But yeah, it's some people collect our work, especially the replica fish, as artwork. You know, three-dimensional artwork. You know, there might be an avid fly fisherman, or, you know, have caught many salmon, just want a classic salmon mount as a piece of artwork as on their wall. And we see a lot more of that happening.
That's
you know,
cool.
It's a little bit more difficult with you know, game, of course, with the legalities to it, you know, but with replica fish, it's a fiberglass image of a fish, so they could be made and bought and sold, and there's no wildlife laws limiting it.
Have you ever done North Atlantic cod?
Actually working on one for I think it's the world record cod that was caught pounder. We're doing it for the Canadian Tire in St. John's.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
When you get the mold done for that one, let me know.
James, I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen and show your website. But as I'm gonna go through this, if you could like talk us through a client giving you guys a call or walking into the office. They've got the bird, and they've got it all wrapped up, and they've done everything that you guys have told them to get the bird to you. Now you guys are going to do your conversation on how the bird's going to get mounted and how you want it to look. Could you? I'm going to share the screen, talk and show your website and some of the stuff that's going on. But can you talk us through that conversation that you had with the clients, please?
Yeah, certainly, it'd be my pleasure. And simply enough, you know, when a client walks in the door, we normally have a phone call previous to try and discuss some of the things that we do. With birds, bird mounts normally fall into two major categories, and that's flying or standing. And typically, a flying mount is like a wall mount, open wing, banking pose, you know, showing off the back of the bird, because normally the back of the bird's a lot more colorful than the bottom side of the bird. There's a nice little standard mount. It comes with a mount, like a nice little piece of driftwood, and a hang on the wall, kind of like I said, in a flying banking pose. But we've done landing poses, cupped, committed, you know, and as far as the tabletop, there's normally a little bit more habitat, like a nice walnut base with a little bit of water, scenery, and some rocks and vegetation. Standing, closed wing with some attitude, you know, head turn or leaning on one leg. But we can do flying tabletops. We can do closed wing wall mounts. And then if a client wants to go further, you know, there's no limitation to what we can do. Working on some neat displays right now for a client from Alberta. He was up in Alaska, and one of the displays has got, I think, 4 Harleys in it, a couple lighters, and what else is there? So longtail duck, all in a one scene in a glass case with extreme waters. It's got the lava rock, splashing waves, all out. So there's no limitation. But basically, a client comes in and we take a look at the bird, and a lot of times the bird sometimes determines the pose. So, like if it got hit hard and there's a lot of wing damage, I wouldn't recommend a flying mount. Close those wings and tuck them in underneath the wing coverage, the pockets, right? And it depends on what they're looking for as well. We've done many mounts that are hanging mounts from the ceiling, which kind of look neat. Where just recently we did a bunch of golden eyes. There's, I think, 3 of them, and 3 committed cupped sort of landing boat that the client hung from the ceiling. It looked really neat. But yeah, we just discuss, what they're looking for, and look at the birds and let the client decide, and go from there.
Have you ever had an idea that someone brought to you that you were just like, yeah, no, we're not doing that? Like, has someone ever said, like, can you recreate the glory yote, or I would like a buffalo head pile driving another one, or something like that you're just like, nope, not happening?
I hate to say it, but yeah, there has been requests. And
just give me one duck straight.
We like, again, we want to we get to play God. We're not God, but we get to play God and recreate these animals back to life. And they're all so majestic and need the respect. Like, there is, of course, there's nothing wrong with humor. Everyone deserves a good laugh, and but we don't do anything that's like tragic or
grotesque,
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We like, yeah, grotesque is a good word. But yeah, we want things to look realistic and capture a part of natural, nature and its beauty.
Yeah, no, and I'm not sure if you guys can see me sharing the screen here and just showing some of the birds that you guys have. Like, it is magical, some of the things that you guys are doing here.
And I'm just glad that you don't have your other tabs up.
I was wondering about that.
No. Hey, I'm not a rookie, boys.
Yeah.
I clear the internet browser history. Unlike when Dave took over the Instagram page, and I was getting all kinds of weird stuff. Yeah.
Go to Google and type in porcupine, see what happens.
No, that's awesome. So again, like, we're talking about all the awesome things that you guys are doing, James. But one of the things that I thought was really cool that you had mentioned, like, you and your partner were 15 years old when you registered the business. Like, you are legit. Like, you guys have been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, there's some experience there, just with, and we're self-taught. There wasn't the, I hate to age myself like this, man. There wasn't the internet like there is today, and you can just YouTube stuff and figure things out. It was literally trial and error.
It was
We were
pre-AOL.
catching the fish, practice the fish taxidermy. Harvesting the animals to practice the taxidermy.
Mm-hmm.
We're self-taught, and I think one of the great things about that is we were not shown the taxidermy Bible.
Right.
There was no, this is how it's done, step A, step B, step C. So it was just a clean slate for us. So we were doing stuff and hearing from taxidermists once we started, competing back in the day, and, well, you can't do that. It's like, well, we did. It was not the norm of the stuff that we're doing. What do you mean you mounted a fish and casted the head and the fins? Like, why? Well, you don't do that. Well, yeah, and the head and the fins look better. And we started molding the whole fish. You can't use a bird with a casted beak. Well, there it is. It's cap dried taxidermy mount. So we're lucky that way, that being because there's still to this day, I get phone calls almost every day saying, hey, what school did you go to? There are no schools here in Canada. There's no schools. If you're lucky enough, you might find a taxidermist privately that'll want to teach you. But, and I don't mean this in a derogatory sense because they're not here to themselves, but in most cases, it's a one man or one woman show working at the part of their garage or basement part-time. And, to pay someone it's a professional hobbyist. It maybe I'm going to probably hear flack for that, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
There are schools in the States, and I've seen people go down there and come back spending thousands, 10, 11, $12,000 to take a taxidermy course, and they weren't even taught tanning or how to skin something. They're provided with a tanned, pelt and a mannequin that fits and says, okay, put that on there. Well, that's not learning. So I think Shawn and I had a great advantage in the fact that we just had the drive to figure this out, and kept with it. And, we do have art backgrounds, as well as the love of the outdoors, that this is a perfect marriage that 37 years later, after we're done here, I'm probably go back in the paint booth and finish that lake trout I was painting.
Yeah.
What you're speaking of is something that's happening in society today where everyone wants the quick route to like, listen, I want to do what advanced taxidermy is doing. Here's the book. And it says, do A, B, C, D. And then they run into something that's hard. And it's like, well, it can't be done because it's not in the book. And we're seeing that with hunting too. Like we're seeing all these people that are like brand new and they're not like going, you know what, just go out. If you're going to have a bad day, it's still, you're getting out and learning something. Do it. Just go out and do shit. Quit just sitting at home being like, the weather's not as per what the book says. I shouldn't even go out today. Like just go out and do it. And it's the best way to learn. So
I wanted to, now you guys have your, you're going to open up that new shop. It's going to be huge. You guys are it, right? Like you are a big, so let's say that we have an aspiring taxidermist that's listening to this show. Like, I'm curious, like, do you have people knocking on your door saying, hey, listen, teach me, I want to come work for it. Listen, I want to be the best. So I'm going to want to come work with the best.
I do. We're blessed with that too. Yeah. Being an international business, I do every day get emails from people from the United States and even abroad, like Germany just recently and Africa, saying, hey, I'd love to, learn. Do you guys teach? I'll come there and, pay you to teach me. Customers with their taxidermy work that we're doing for them. That might be something that we'll do maybe soon, maybe in a little while. But even after all this time, business partner and I are just broke 50. We're both 52 this year, and there's many more years before we're looking into the retirement fund of what do we do, because we don't want to do this anymore. But with this new shop, it's going to open up a lot of opportunities and just create having a place to go to. But that's not to, like even right now, we've got a wonderful studio. It's just in a great showroom. It's jam-packed with work. It's not a residential studio. It's an actual shop. And I get that because the taxidermy industry, to be honest with you, is the main taxidermist in the world is a one-man show working out of the house or garage. And I get that with phone calls, people saying, hey, I was going to come by the studio. Do I knock on the garage door? Do I knock on the front door? It's like, no, you come in through the showroom doors, enjoy the showroom, and someone will come out to meet you. But this new facility, it's been a long time coming. We've been at it for 5 years, and like I said, the building's starting to go up, so we're pretty excited that we can offer our customers even better service and better work.
It's amazing, actually. Like I continually just blown away with just how professional it is, and like I really, I don't want to seem ignorant, but I really didn't. I guess I really thought taxidermy, for the most part, was some hobbyist, right? And that's ignorance on my part, really, because I really did think that for the most part it was hobbyist. There was very few that I know of that are you know, this is it. This is what they do. This is what pays the bills. And so to be able to sit down and listen to you talk about this, like it's awesome. And I love it. And I think our listeners, and there's millions of them, that absolutely, no, there's not really millions, but you know what I mean? Like it's awesome to hear that you guys are doing so well. And I think the fact that it's a Canadian thing makes it even that much more special in a world where it seems like everybody else is better than us at something. It's awesome to hear that you guys are it. And yeah.
Well, as far as taxidermy goes, you know, well, I think Canadians just have a passion that a lot of other countries don't have. You know, I might be bold in saying that, but it comes down to, you know, like, I mean, everything, you know, from, you know, decoy making and, you know, making calls, and you can see that when you compare. And and I think it's known even in the shooting sports and in the fishing and, like, I mean, the hunting trade, and Canada's got quality. And again, it's with this art. And it is an art, you know, as I said, I think you mentioned before, taxidermists have to be a jack of all trades and a master of all of them. You know, there's no, you can't, you know, do one thing good and one not something somewhere else. And I should mention that too, that a lot of studios or taxidermists, there's so many areas involved in taxidermy that I find that a lot of taxidermists or people will find they will get good at one thing and specialize in it and not touch any part of, you know, other part of it. And we take pride here at Advanced, you know, other than the people and the pets, we can do anything. You know, we've got some great displays. We know we did a life-size zebra being taken down by a life-size crocodile for a client at the wall mount, you know, not a problem. You know, or we've also did an elephant shrew, which is a mouse from Africa for Shocky's museum. You know, so from one mount fits in your hand to another one that, you know, you're supporting your wall, obviously, to hold it, because it's a horse and a giant, you know,
Lizard.
Godzilla, giant lizard, you know,
a dinosaur.
And we've pushed the envelope here at Advanced too. And again, at the risk of sounding big-headed, I don't mean that way, but that we're known for it is doing more than just the bird on a piece of driftwood for the wall or the fish on a panel. You know, we do coffee tables and end tables, you know, encasing them in glass cases that are usable. And you'll see that on the website and our Facebook page and our Instagram page. You know, these end tables and coffee tables. We're currently working on a 10-man poker table with a glass case in the middle, where you're looking down on a lynx fighting a fox in a full blown out January snow scene. So
that's insane.
That is insane.
You know, so there's no limitation to what can be done with advanced taxidermy. You know, we did years ago, and you'll see it in the Boston Bass Pro Shops. Johnny asked us to do a humpback whale. So we did a full recreation of an actual size humpback whale. It's on our website. So it's funny when someone will say, you know, hey, do you think you can handle something like a life-size moose, which we've done many of? It's like, you know, do you think you can handle something that big? It's like, what do you mean small?
Okay.
It's like, what do you mean big? What do you mean small? A moose is big.
If you're willing to disclose this, how much was the whale?
What do we get paid for it?
Yeah.
What was the cost?
Well, to be honest with you, that's Shawn's part of the business. So I don't know if we made money or lost money. That's how we paid for the new building, or we, you know, we're in debt.
Like, I'm just going to throw a number out there, but I could foresee that being a 6-figure amount.
I would say.
Well, materials. Well, good thing it wasn't right now, because it would probably be more than that just in trying to get materials for it. You know, the cost of wood and metal and all that. But tell you, it was a big job. The whale that's hanging up in the pictures, you can actually see, I believe on the website, the pictures are still there of the structure.
Look this up.
I'm going to do it right now.
How the hell do you transport that?
Well, that's the whole thing in the planning. That thing had to be engineered. We had to have an engineer's drawings sign off on it because it's actually hanging from the ceiling above people where they're walking. So we made it modular. We couldn't do a lot of twists and turns and movement to it, but it was pretty straight, and the fins and the flutes were modular. So it came off and it just fit on a gooseneck flat.
Oh,
Look up Boston Bass Pro Whale.
Did you find it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's going to be
So
like
get Danny to look it up.
yeah. Okay.
Weber net.
Boston Bass Pro Whale.
Okay.
And click on images.
Boston
Pizza? No,
Bass Pro.
that's later.
Oh my Lord. Like there it is on the transport truck.
Yeah, it was 50 feet
Images.
long. Yeah, there it is there. Yeah, it was
Click
50
on the
feet
image.
long, 10-foot belly to back, 47 feet across the fins. Oh, yeah, there it is in the store. Yeah.
Christ.
Holy smokes.
Jesus.
Pinterest.
Oh, Pinterest. Get out of here,
Damien,
Aaron.
one job.
One job.
That's insane, James.
That is insane, buddy.
Yeah, that was a fun project. And, you know, we did the Clear Story at the Cabela store in Alaska, in the Anchorage store. We did 2 beluga whales, which is kind of neat.
Wow. That is crazy. That is
We also did some orcas for the Cabela's in Reno, chasing a school of salmon, hanging feeling.
Cool.
So those are full recreations. People say, is that a skin mount or is that a cast? No, that's a full recreation built from scratch built. But it is, you know, business partner and I are pretty eccentric to details. We're gonna work on it and study those things until it's scientifically correct.
Pontiac, I was actually going to ask you, like, what's your most, like,
42 feet long. Sorry,
what's your
Phil.
biggest, most expensive, elaborate mount? I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yeah.
Look at this. And the Boston Whale are in the background too. I didn't notice that.
Did
Yeah,
you guys do that Boston Whaler?
No, that was their crew. They have a visual team that they brought that in and did all the fake waves and all that. I was actually down there for the setup of the whale. They flew me down and I was there to make sure everything was good. But yeah, it was fun. Neat project.
Don't drop it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really impressive, buddy. Like I don't know what to say. Like that.
Well,
that's friggin'
people
impressive.
come in, and say, "Do you think you can handle my wood duck?" we got your wood duck covered.
We will give it.
I've done one of them, I think.
Yeah.
We'll give it the old college try.
Yeah. Now listen, if you're gonna walk in with a pterodactyl, actually, you know what? From what I've seen and learned so far, I'm pretty sure you guys would hammer out a pterodactyl too if you really come down to it.
Oh,
Not a problem.
In fairness, I've seen pictures of Steven Spielberg on a hunt where he harvested a triceratops.
Yeah, the internet went crazy over that one.
Oh, did they ever go crazy over that one?
Yeah. Oh my God, those are protected.
Okay.
Do you have any idea who the guy is holding the gun? Clearly you don't.
Well, here's something I was going to just add real quick, kind of
absolutely.
surface to the top. We do a lot of recreation work as well. And what that means is, like with birds and mammals,
Okay.
like using fake fur and fake feathers, we can build even extinct birds.
Oh.
See, all the domestic birds, the ducks, the turkeys, they're white feathered.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work. And one of the easier ones to do would be, say, a client wanted a recreation of an owl done, like a snowy owl. That's one of the easier ones because snowies are white. And we can actually take the wings from a domestic goose and pull the feathers from a domestic bird, shape them, paint them, and place them feather by feather by feather by feather and recreate a whole different bird that's not of the original bird. So extinct birds, extinct ducks, I can do a dodo,
I was just going to say, we should get a dodo done.
I'm thinking a liger. Napoleon Dynamite.
Those aren't extinct.
Labrador, something along those lines. But and right now we're playing around with even recreation polar bears and African lions.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little cat out of the hat there, but
Okay.
yeah,
I gotta do this, fellas, because I just found this. So check this out.
Squirrel.
This is gonna be a thing on every show now.
Oh yeah,
There it is.
yeah, totally. Look at this.
Yeah, that's in the barn
That's
that
awesome.
we built it in, and it was 47 feet across the front fins, and the barn was 50 feet wide. So on a
Wow.
windy day, it would be bong, 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 as it was swaying and hitting the other side of the wall.
I've seen those up close many a time, and that's pretty good, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Those are all acorn barnacles casts. There's over 1,000 of them on it.
Wow.
Yeah, I like how you got the really knobby parts on the nose and on the.
Yeah, they call on
Exactly.
humpbacks. They used to call them stove bolts because they used to say that the whale was put together with just like a iron girders and the big bolts, stove bolts, like a bridge. So the neat thing about the humpback and those stove bolts is they actually have like little hairs that come out of those bumps that can pick up vibrations of like minnows off of Ireland when the humpback whale's off of Boston or North Carolina.
I'm in
So-
awe.
Yeah, I'm in awe. So like that's just a testament to the amount of research that like, and I don't want to make this sound silly, but you do really, really put the time into research everything there is about that, especially these extreme challenges that you guys get, like that humpback whale. And I've seen my share of humpback whales up close as well, and that's pretty impressive.
Well, we take the time. It's from day one what Shawn and I have been doing, and even our crew. We want it to be right, because like I said, even if it was that first, godwall or whatever be greenhead, nice mallard that your son shoots, you want this thing to last.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a duck, right? We're immortalizing that memory. So when that bird comes in, I'm going to make sure that I have the right body shape, the right carcass cast, the right I'm going to cast the beak so it's all perfect, because we want, then it's tanned properly, that we're going to make sure that this thing lasts forever, that someday that grandson's going to be talking to his grandkids and that bird's still going to look the same because it was mounted correctly on the inside so
Mark
that the
has a-
outside looks right and it
Yeah.
lasts.
Yeah,
Mark
Mark, what are
has-
Okay.
you?
You have an ancient artifact there.
Anybody know what that is?
No,
I haven't got. It's hard to get the good detail on it.
it's not a raccoon penis.
No,
It's a
That's a
tusk.
it's a tooth.
Tooth from.
I said a tusk.
I'm gonna show you something
Okay.
else.
From a
This
saber
is another tooth. Guess what
Liger?
that's from? What?
A liger?
A
They're-
liger.
They're mythical creatures.
Yeah.
So that's a tooth. What animals have teeth that big?
Sperm whale.
A what?
Sperm whale.
You got her.
Okay.
Sperm whale tooth.
Was I supposed to wait for someone else to try and take a guess? first?
We were all going to guess it. We all knew too.
Yeah, like everybody knew that was a sperm whale. Like, come on.
My buddy Aaron Crocker got me these,
Nice.
Yeah.
and and they're
Are they
great.
engraved? Are they
Not-
a scrimshot
Not yet.
or no?
I got to get one engraved for him. to give
Nice.
back to him. And then I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do with the other one. But yeah,
That's awesome.
Throw something hard at me. Come on.
Okay.
That was
So-
too easy, that one.
I just got my bird mounted and I bring it home.
Yep.
How do I care for it for the next 30 years?
Great question. I would, I always tell clients that, especially if they're doing birds with water or a mount with snow or water, I recommend, if you can encase it, do that, because it's a lot easier to clean the top pane of glass than to clean the feathers. And especially with snow and water, every house is, you're going to have dust, and, the snow starts looking like fake snow at Christmas time, if the Christmas decorations and the water starts going dull, and not sparkly shiny. But with that said, just a classic standing green head on a base, soft bristle paintbrush. See, when I'm grooming a bird to do the final, tracking the feathers and feather placement, I'm using a woman's blush brush. You guys, I don't, you can imagine me at the counter at, Shoppers in the makeup department saying, "Can you show me some blush brushes, please?"
Yeah, here comes James.
That's bad enough. That's bad enough.
Strolling into Sephora.
Can you show me some blush brushes? But when I did actually build up the courage to do this, some of those blush brushes are like $150.
Really?
It's insane. But they do have the softness to actually groom the feather. So I bought a cheap one, like for $60. I use that, some guys will say, well, I can steal the wives or the girlfriends. No, because there's makeup on it. You don't want to be putting makeup on it.
Yeah.
A clean brush, and that's one of the tools we have in our arsenal when we're actually doing the detailing and the preening. But you can use a soft bristle paintbrush. It'll work even better. It's like a ball of cotton. And you can actually groom the bird. It helps realign the feathers and removes the dust. I've heard some guys say, well, I have a friend that said to use hairspray. You're going to spray your duck glue? No, definitely don't do that. It's a little bit of common sense. If it's really bad, really dirty, I recommend bringing it into a taxidermist and have them take a look at it to do a proper cleaning. But yeah, a little bit of common sense, soft little paintbrush, cotton balls are better. And just maybe once a year, or try, and the other thing to try, put it in an area that's not going to cause damage or create more damage or dust to it than a better spot, if that makes sense. If it's a high traffic area, you're going to have a lot more dust landing on it than if it's in, on a cabinet or a shelf, off in the corner a little bit. So, appreciate it better.
Yeah. I got a question for you, James. So say,
sure.
I guess this is kind of in regards to like, mount positions and stuff. So say, you're given like a pristine bird, like practically died of natural causes. That's how good of a condition it's in. Like obviously hypothetically speaking, best case scenario.
Right.
Is there any certain positions that are like easier to do or harder to do, or stuff that you guys would rather do, or the case may be?
Well, yeah, I think, a really nice bird, you want it sort of in a classic pose that people understand what it's doing, that people have seen. And certain birds look better in certain poses than others. Like divers, their feet are just so far back. Standing poses kind of look weird. Their chests are just so high, whereas a puddle duck, the feet are more centered, so it looks nicer as a standing pose.
They're like a penguin.
Yeah, exactly. So divers sometimes laying down, with the feet next, like on a rock, something like is, it's just relaxing, with a nice little head turn. We can do any pose, but sometimes having the wing dropped and having the head turned around, preening on its tail is a little weird to look at. If you're going to immortalize that bird in a certain pose for the rest of its life, you don't want it in a weird pose. I think something classic is best for even the perfect birds. And I always tell clients too, is you want to show off the best part of the bird. I've had clients say, hey, I want a tabletop display of a committed, bird, and I want it low. Well, you're not really, with that pose is kind of weird. All of us duck hunters, wing shooters know what we're looking at. It makes sense. But Joe Public looking at it, seeing these wings down, the head down, the feet out, like, oh my gosh, here comes the water or land, right, is a weird pose. Whereas that pose looks better hanging above your head. So like that's certain things that we discuss with the clients when they're, wanting to make their final decision for posing. But yeah, I think a perfect bird, it depends on the perfect bird. Some birds are prettier flying. And as far as if it was a tabletop flying, I would suggest a taking off pose, which is more of a proud pose as opposed to a landing pose. Because with the taking off, the chest is up, the wings beating up or down, heads up. It's a really, really nice presentation of the bird, showing off the secondaries and the head. Whereas, again, a cupped committed landing, is something better to be looking up at, hanging from the ceiling or from a wall.
Like one thing I'm quite
good
fond
question.
of.
I go through that a lot.
One thing I'm quite fond of is the deadfall mounts. So I currently have a canvas back that I've shot that's up, like once I get the couple more birds to complete the mount, I'll finally get it, properly.
Redhead.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I've already got the can that's going to be hung by like that leather shoelace material hung up by the foot. So he's coming down, the one wing's cocked off to the side. So I want to get a couple more done to go with them, like a redhead, as Damien mentioned, possibly like a widgeon or a nice stud bluebill. And another thing I'd really like to get is across like a bottom shelf would be like
the dead mounts look awesome.
Oh yeah, but I want to get like a long tail with like the one wing hanging
with
off
some
the
lower
shelf,
no shells, a box. Okay.
With the head kind of hanging off. But another thing too, and I pray the day comes, a speckle belly, because that's the one bird you want to see the breast is the speckle belly, and just like the big angel wings up in behind it. Just gotta shoot one.
Yeah,
small
they make
detail,
beautiful
right?
presentations, and they're not so they're the right size, for that sort of pose. Like if you're getting into some of the giant Canadian cobra chickens, some of those things have sometimes like 7-foot wingspans on them almost, these big Canadians. But the specs, I love working on them. We just recently did this little tiny blue phase Ross. It was incredible.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was
He's
like
just like a
call the
big
client.
duck.
Yeah, it was like call the client and tell him his bird's bad. And I said, yeah, Kyle, your bird's bad. He goes, you're lying. I said, hey, I'll try to steal this one on you.
Yeah.
It was one of those birds. I opened it up and I was like, are you kidding me? Where'd you get this? He was out west, out Saskatchewan way, I think it was. But what an absolute incredible, those secondaries were incredible on them too. Just such a beautiful, and he did it flying. So it was a beautiful, beautiful bird. But some of those dead mounts are really good for birds that are not prime or in good condition, that you can make them look good and immortalized, because I see a lot of these birds coming in, and I hate saying this because you never know, but opening day, we always get that guy calling up and saying, yeah, I was wanting to drop off a wood duck. And I won't mention names, but a client comes in, I'll never forget this, opening day. I've, been hunting all these years. I always want to shoot a Drake and a hen woody, and finally got my Drake and hen woody, and I want to get these mounts done, put them together, flying group pair mount and the whole bit. And he comes in, and I open up the bag and I see this wood duck, the wing pockets don't have the black and white tips to them yet. No solid bands in the front. I mean, the hood is straggly. It's even got brown feathers in the face. And I says, buddy, is this your first bird? He goes, no, I've been hunting for like 10 years. I says, well, out of a scale of 1 to 10, this wood duck, it's probably a 3, maybe a 2. I'll give it a 3. If you're looking for a good mount, wait until the late in the season. You'll have a much better preened bird. It'll make a nice, better mount. And he's like, well, I appreciate your honesty. I said, well, let's look at the hen. I literally opened the bag and I closed the bag and I said, it's actually a Drake as well. I said, we'll be nice and call it a 1 out of 10. And, I'm proud to say with us here in the work in our clientele, I didn't need to take that in. And at the end of the day, him look at it and go, well, what's with these birds? And well, that's the birds you gave me. I'd rather say these aren't the mounters, because this isn't your son's first bird that there's a sentimental value to. Let's get a good bird that at least it's done once, it's done right. And he did show up later in the season with probably an 8, I'll call it a 9 out of 10 wood duck. And it was just a huge hood on it. And he said, yeah, you're right. So I liked the fact that I can be that honest with our customers too.
I did,
because it wasn't like a situation where he walked in the door and it was like, finally the electric bill is going to be paid. We can be honest with the customer and advise them, as to what we think. Not that I'm turning customers away. I want to do every bird possible, but I just didn't think it was going to be, a good investment for him.
Yep, and I did the exact same thing that this fella had done, and brought it to Dave and all of our friends, Jason Sear, who's a taxidermy guy, and it was my first Drake Woody that I had shot, and I had brought it into him, and I wanted it done, and he was like, and this was opening day, so. And he was like, buddy, he said, this isn't, this isn't a good looking, still had pin feathers and stuff like this, right? He was like, it's not a good, I said, I don't care what it's my first wood duck and my first Drake wood duck, and I want it done. And he was like, okay, as long as you understand that, there's way better looking coming down the road. And I was like, no, I want this one done. And that was so, I get it. But I appreciate it as honesty, 100%.
Yeah, we recently put together a nice, same thing that the client with all the Alaskan Harleys, he actually sent us down Quill Lake, and it was like, wow, okay, this is kind of rare,
Yeah, I would think so.
And then I turned it inside out, and every single feather was pin feather.
Oh,
I call him up and said, this bird is not mountable.
Yeah.
And he goes, I need you to work your magic, because I'm probably never going to see one again. Right.
Yeah.
And, I says, okay, well, I'll put the effort into trying to put it together, and I'll let you know. So it actually did go together. It was a very stressful, mount, because you look at it the wrong way and feathers were sort of falling out, because they're still pin feathers, but we got it together. It's kind of neat. It's only the second one we've seen in 37 years.
Wow.
So yeah, and I understood that one. And I said to him, it's going to look like, an immature, pin feathered bird. And he says, I appreciate that. And let's do her. So we put it together.
Okay, cool. Well, James, buddy, we're almost at that 60-minute mark, buddy, and I'm pretty sure we could keep going all night.
Oh, yeah, I could talk all night. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys.
No, buddy, awesome. And thanks so much for it. Like, it really, really great episode. Some great education and an even better display of your work. Like, I am in awe. And I'm sure anybody that's watching this, they'll see the same thing. We'll do a quick round the table, and then we'll end it with you, James. So, Mark, to you, buddy.
It was good meeting you tonight. Learned a lot of good stuff from you. Really interesting on all your spectrum of what you cover. So yeah, I mean, I'm not someone who hunts for trophies, and I've probably shot some cool birds in my life. Among other things, and I don't know if I'm going to do it yet, but I think if I do in the near future, and I already have some ideas going around in my head, I'm going to be contacting you guys.
Awesome.
Especially with the codfish. I like that.
I'll text you a photo once we get it done.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Dave?
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm pretty sure there's a guy around here. I'm not sure if he's brought his bird to you yet or not, but I was hunting with Jason Sear last fall, and they shot a bird, and they're like, oh, we've never seen this before. We think it's this. And he sent me the message and a picture, and I said, no, that's a Brant goose. And they were arguing with me, and I said, well, here. So I put Jason on. I said, Jason, what do you think this is? He goes, oh, it's a Brant. And so I'm pretty sure he's bringing it to you. He's already got it with you, but yeah, if he argues with you that it's not a Brant, you can tell him it's a Brant.
Okay. Okay.
Philly.
James, we appreciate your time. So this has been a long time coming, trying to get someone, to talk taxidermy with us. And obviously, for those that are waterfowlers, it's a key element. Those that kind of want to capture that moment and whatnot, and be able to relive that hunt down the road. And we appreciate your time and obviously educating us on proper care and handling, and hopefully this goes out to the masses. So at the end of the day, you get a quality bird to mount, and in turn they get a quality product back in their hands that they can love and cherish for years down the road. So thanks again for coming on. We greatly appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, it's been absolutely a pleasure. I don't know what everyone's talking about. You guys are great. And if
That's awesome.
66 episodes, and you're the first one to do that. I was like, it's gotta come one day.
you know, it's been fun. I loved it, and like I said earlier, if you know, there's one of the things I love talking about is me, and no one knows me better than me, or probably not. You know, we'll leave the ex-girlfriends out, but yeah, it's been a pleasure and it's been fun. And if you guys ever need me on again, it'd be an absolute pleasure to do it again. It'd be fun.
Awesome, buddy. I tell you what, we will 100% take you up on that. And we try our best to travel around the province as much as we can to do hunting and then meeting up with our millions and millions of fans. So I promise you that someday we will be walking into your showroom, and I would love to be able to shake your hand and be able to have a coffee with you and just talk about this some more, buddy. Thank you so much.
You're all more than cordially invited, you know, and the coffee will be on me. And this has been awesome. I've been told so many times I have a face for radio. I'm not sure what they mean by that, but it's been great. Good
Awesome.
hunting, friends. Good
Awesome,
hunting,
buddy. Thanks so much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Union 0430, episode number 66. Please check out Advanced Taxidermy. Go to their website, hit them up on all their social media, give them a like. And if you do have any questions, listen, you heard the man here tonight. He will 100% answer anything that you want to know. So listen, don't be shy. Reach out to him and let them know that it was here that you heard about Advanced Taxidermy. Everybody, thank you so much for this. Another great episode. Big love. Surround yourself with great people.